Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. LeBron James turned 40 on Monday. The Lakers have a new rotation and another Jared Vanderbilt health update. Lots to unpack next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcast listen. It's always going to be free, never behind paywall, Andy. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you go hang out with over 27,000 subscribers, getting close to 28. All of whom, Andy, are celebrating the birthday of LeBron James. He turned 40 on Monday. We didn't get a chance to get into it for Monday's show on account of the big trade, which is something else that we'll talk about on today's show because those guys were at practice on Monday in El Segundo and are expected to be available for the Lakers tonight, I should say, against the Cavaliers. So a big day. A big week, lots going on. Things are feeling good about the Lakers. They're piling up some wins, Andy. Their stars are aging gracefully. What's not to like?
I mean, it has been to put it mildly, crazy 2024, like the calendar year for the Lakers. A lot that's been up, a lot that's been down, a lot that's been chaotic. Unpredictable, other than the fact that they fired a coach because that's just what they do. That's maybe the most predictable.
It's a tax write-off. You have to do at least.
That's
one
the most
year.
predictable thing that happened in 2024. But as of this recording, 2024 is closing out on a very promising and intriguing and exciting, at least potentially, note for the Lakers. There is a lot to like right now at the moment.
I look at the standings.
Which makes it, by the way, an appropriate vibe for LeBron turning 40, because it would really suck for LeBron to be turning 40 and it feeling like everything with the organization had gone to poop, which, by the way, not that long ago, there were questions about whether everything had gone to poop.
So you look at the standings, Andy, and they're 18 and 13 heading into tonight's game with a couple winnable games to come. A very January heavy schedule, even with when the game
January home heavy,
right? That's what I mean.
It's not January heavy in January. That's just January.
Right. January is filled with January games. Yeah. You're right. That wasn't well put.
Let me tell you something about February's schedule. It is very February heavy.
Your edit is noted and it is accepted. But the Lakers really do have a chance to make a little bit of a move here. At 18 and 13, they are in the 5 spot in the West. The Mavericks, who the Lakers will see shortly, are going to be without Luka Doncic. Who knows if Ja is going to be healthy for the Grizzlies, although they've shown themselves to be quite resilient. So an opportunity to, if nothing else, get themselves deeper into that top 6 is there for LeBron. And you see where the team is going. They made a nice trade, which I'm sure LeBron James appreciates the value of adding a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith to the rotation and what that means really in a lot of ways for him and what he's going to have to do defensively and the load he needs to carry. DFS is going to make a big difference in his life, to say the least. And it's why I think, LeBron, his vibe at practice was pretty loosey-goosey on Monday, feeling good about the age thing, talking about, Andy, the idea that he could play at a high level physically for another 5 to 7 years. Made it clear he's not planning on doing that. But that's as a barometer of where he feels to say, yeah, I got another 5 to 7 years in me. Even if he's if you consider that a goofy thing to say, it's still, reflects, I think, an idea of how he feels.
We've mentioned this beyond the defensive engagement, which has just been night and day, the defensive effectiveness has been great. He also noted, too, that LeBron, his plan is to finish his career with the Lakers. He said that he would love to end it here. Hopefully he doesn't have to go anywhere else. And first of all, it's been plainly obvious to anybody really paying attention and not trying to doom scroll, whether for engagement or just that's just sort of their nature. LeBron does not want to leave the Lakers. Like, it would take a lot for him to decide to go, because frankly, he's had many opportunities to leave. And while there could, I'm sure there is urgency in the sense of, I only have realistically so many years left to play, and I'd like to be playing them under the best, most competitive circumstances possible. The reality is, if he really, truly prioritized a championship as the number one thing, not that he doesn't care, but that if it was truly the number one thing, he'd have left by now. And he's not leaving because he doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to uproot his family. His family, I think, has no desire to leave whatsoever. And I also thought it was interesting, too, when he talked about how he could play another 5 to 7 years, but he doesn't plan to do that. And he also said that once he retires, he will not unretire. He's not going to pull an MJ. He's not going to pull a Brady. And it's for very, I think, similar reasons. You and I used to insist this all the time. When Kobe was on the retirement tour, there was always the question of, he's too competitive. He lives, eats, sleeps, dreams basketball. Of course he's going to be back. He's not going to be able to stand being away from the game. And you and I were both very insistent. He's gone, people. He's gone. And the reason is because, Kobe played the game for very specific reasons in a very specific way. And if he can't be the centerpiece of a truly contending team, not interested. But also, Kobe had a ton of things away from the game to occupy him, whether you're talking about Oscar-winning filmmaking or being a dad. He had plenty of other things that he was interested and passionate.
Multiple businesses, all kinds of stuff going on.
Same with LeBron. LeBron has already started his post-retirement career in real time. He's got plenty to occupy him. When he hangs it up, he will hang it up.
Yeah, and I think too, Andy, there's also a difference. You walk away in your 11th year, your 12th year, which is a long career, don't get me wrong, but and you still got a little something in you. That's why people thought Aaron Donald would come back with the Rams. He's young, he's dominant. He's going to be away for a year. He's going to want to come back. Maybe it happens. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. But by the time LeBron's done, he will have finished very possibly a quarter century, like a full quarter century in the NBA. At the least, he's going to be, because I don't think this year's not going to be his last year. I think he'll be back next year.
I think so.
You're talking 23 years at a minimum. I feel like, when you decide you're done after 23 seasons of something, there's less of that threat. I think the winning thing, the other thing that I find intriguing about all of this is I agree with you that LeBron doesn't want to be on a terrible team. He doesn't want to be on the Wizards, playing, fifth win.
Talk about your guys that, unretired. LeBron will not be people talk about, who's better, LeBron, MJ. Oh, LeBron's just an MJ wannabe. I can promise you, if he ever unretired, it would not be to come back to the Wizards.
He'll buy a team and put himself on it. But I also think he understands that he's at a different place in his career without saying these things out loud. And while saying I still play the game at a very high level, and he is correct. He doesn't play it at the level where he did before, to where his presence on a team is enough to essentially guarantee at the least a trip to the finals. And so I think he understands there isn't a place for me to go. If he went and teamed up with Steph right now in Golden State, and you literally just sign there as an imaginary free agent in the middle of the season, the Warriors don't become title favorites with that. They become better, and they, obviously much more of a real live playoff team and stuff like that. But they're not better than Oklahoma City at that point. Like, they're just, the point of his career where he can kind of get himself another title is sort of past. And I think in the same way you and I have pointed out that trading LeBron is exceedingly complicated. I think LeBron understands that joining another team is really complicated, and don't upset that. Give me a competitive team to play for here, something credible, and we're good. And that's what the Lakers have done. I want to continue, Andy, unpacking this idea, though, of what Dorian Finney-Smith does, particularly for LeBron, and whatever else it is you're thinking in the next segment. We'll get to it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Rocket RX. If you're ready to boost your confidence and take control of the bedroom, Rocket RX has the solution. Imagine feeling more prepared and performing at your best. Rocket RX makes it simple, stress-free. Rocket RX offers FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at a cost lower than branded alternatives. No more uncomfortable doctor visits or pharmacy trips. Everything is delivered straight to your door in discreet plain packaging. With Rocket RX, you'll always get trusted care from a real U.S. clinical team. Complete a quick 100% online consultation, and you could get your free prescription today. Visit rocketrx.com to get started now. It only takes 2 minutes. Right now, our listeners can get 40% off your first order when you use the code LOCKEDONNBA. rocketrx.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for 40% off your first order. Terms and conditions apply. Rocket RX, better sex made simple.
Reminder, please subscribe to the newsletter, lockedondaily.com. Click on Locked On Lakers. Have all of this goodness transported directly to your inbox every day. Plus, it's good for us.
Wanted to throw out some stats just with LeBron to really put in perspective what LeBron turning 40, 22nd season, all of it means. Assuming he plays versus the Cavs on Tuesday, and I cannot imagine a scenario where he doesn't. He'll be the first player in NBA history to play both as a teenager and in his 40s. I don't think it is a coincidence.
So crazy.
I know it is crazy. I also don't think it's a coincidence that LeBron's first game as a 40-year-old is against the Cavaliers, the team that he started his career with. That does not feel like an accident. Good on the schedule planners, by the way. I always be aware LeBron is a 20-time All-Star, 20-time All-MVP per Micah Adams. I believe Micah's now with the Sporting News. LeBron has played against 1,750 different players. 4,975 players have appeared in at least one NBA game all time. LeBron has played against over 35% of all players in league history. LeBron made his debut October 29th, 2003. It was a road game versus the Kings. They lost that game, but in a sign of a lot to come, LeBron played almost 43 minutes, most on the team, 25 points, 12 of 20 from the field, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 steals. Put some of this in perspective, how long ago it was. Number 1 movie of the week when LeBron made his debut, Scary Movie 3. Remember that franchise with the Wayans? Scary Movie 3, the number 1 movie of 2003, year of LeBron's debut, Finding Nemo. Number 1 song of the week when LeBron...
Not Dory.
No.
Nemo.
Nemo, the first one. Number 1 song of the week when LeBron made his debut, Baby Boy by Beyonce featuring Sean Paul. The latter's a name I've not heard in a while. The number 1 song of 2003, In the Club, 50 Cent. Been a minute since that was bumping. Top 5 shows of 2003. CSI, the first one, the original one.
CSI.
CSI. American Idol, Tuesday night, followed by American Idol, Wednesday night. Friends and The Apprentice, back when Donald Trump was just a game show host. This edged out ER. This was nearly 2 years before the Batman franchise with Christian Bale began 2 years before. I think they were probably casting it right now. When LeBron entered the league, the reigning champs were the San Antonio Spurs, the second of the Tim Duncan, David Robinson titles. They took out a Nets team coached by Showtime great Byron Scott, the reigning MVP, Tim Duncan, reigning Rookie of the Year, Amari Stoudemire, reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Ben Wallace, reigning Sixth Man of the Year, Bobby Jackson, reigning Coach of the Year, Pop. Talk about some guys with longevity. First team All-NBA that season, Kobe, Shaq, Duncan, KG, Tracy McGrady. Reigning Super Bowl champs, the New England Patriots, Brady's second title. The co-MVPs of that year, Peyton Manning and Steve McNair. Reigning World Series champs, the Florida Marlins with Pudge Rodriguez and Dontrell Williams. MVPs, Barry Bonds and Alex Rodriguez, 5 years before Clayton Kershaw debuted with the Dodgers. George W. Bush was in his first term as president. LeBron will have played basketball under a grand total of 5 different presidents, 3 of which, counting incoming President Donald Trump, will have served 2 terms. That is effing nuts. That is crazy.
You mentioned Ben Wallace. Like, if you see pictures now of Ben Wallace, he looks like modern Larry Fishburne. He does not look like somebody who was contemporary of LeBron's. I'm not saying I'd mess with him. I'm just saying it is impressive. Like, this is why, if you want LeBron to perform it this way, like he says, I can keep going at 5 years. Like, you got to put the right infrastructure around him. And one of the things that, because I can guarantee, the one thing we do know, he's never going to try to win an NBA Cup again, because he has found this rest over the not making the NBA Cup is so much better for LeBron than making the finals. It's not even close. But if you're going to put him as the centerpiece of a team, like we talked on Monday's show about like the downstream impacts of acquiring Dorian Finney-Smith. And I saw a lot of people in the comment section who are not believers in the trade saying like, oh, you guys are freaking out. They acquired a bench guy. And he did. JJ Redick said on Monday, the plan is currently to bring Finney-Smith off the bench. And I think they'll do that for as long as it is effective. And, Rui is playing very well. And I think to take him out of the starting lineup for this would kind of mess with the vibe and the chemistry that the team has right now. And Rui hasn't done anything to deserve being taken out. There's no reason to take him out. But Finney-Smith can get a lot of playing time. And I think he's going to get a lot of playing time in particular with LeBron, because making LeBron's life easier defensively, whether that's with Max Christie, whether that's with Dorian Finney-Smith, or anybody else they can get out there and find, is monumentally important, both for keeping him fresh, but also making it so that you can rely on him to put up the kind of numbers, the 26, 8, and 8 that he's done like a metronome throughout his career, to finish at the rim and to have some juice in March and April that it didn't look like he was going to have in mid-November or early December. And so downstream impacts of this trade, one of the things I think they're trying to find a benefit for, it's going to help Austin Reeves now, who has to do a lot more point guarding. It's going to help LeBron, because now he is going to be even one step further down in the defensive responsibility flow chart. It's going to make him a lot more effective.
He's likely going to be playing 25 to 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Once you start getting into that range of minutes, you matter. Like it really does not, it's really not much of a consideration whether you start or come off the bench in terms of importance. That's really more about floor combinations. I could see also DFS closing games, and closing games is much more of a sign of your importance and where you are, whether in the pecking order or the trust meter of your coach, than starting. I don't think he's like a lock to close every game, but he's going to close many games. Like Dorian Finney-Smith is going to matter on this team. Like, he was the centerpiece of that deal. We'll see what comes of Shake Milton and how much playing time he will or will not get. But they made this deal to get DFS. Like, that's why it happened.
The Lakers don't have enough stuff to sort of necessarily count on transformative trades where just the sheer power and talent of the players they acquire is enough to boost their ceiling. I just don't see that out there. They still have their first round picks available that they can use in a trade, but the market of guys making the salaries work now, because to do the math to trade for a guy who makes $35-40 million a year, you're talking about Rui, you're talking about Gabe Vincent, you're talking about maybe Jared Vanderbilt, like basically anything that isn't nailed to the floor. If the Lakers are going to try to get to $45 million or $40 million, it's going to cost a lot of human capital because they need to make the money work. What you're left with then are, how can we make smaller trades that have an impact that is outsized to just the quality of the player they're getting back? And in Finney-Smith, they're obviously making a trade-off with playmaking. And, there are going to be times when fans might find this hard to believe. There are going to be times when they miss what D'Angelo Russell brought to the table. But I think especially when you consider the playoffs and when they consider D'Lo's playoff shortcomings and the fact that he gets harder to play in the postseason, what you want to substitute that with is a guy who actually gets easier to play in the playoffs. And I maybe you disagree. I feel like that's what Finney-Smith is a guy who is easier to play in the postseason, not harder.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the money, because that is if the Lakers are going to do something in the next few weeks, one of the things that will make it easier the financial impacts of this trade. So we'll get to some of that stuff next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions that you forgot about or that you're paying for twice? Like, I've used it. There's been some things that popped up for me. I'm like, wait, what? Like, I don't even remember. I don't remember using that like in the last 3 years. Why am I still subscribed to that? And Rocket Money was helpful. It was like a personal assistant with finances, and it's a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending, helps you lower bills that you can help grow savings, and it's all together in one place: subscriptions, spending habits, even the goals that you want to hit for the year. It can help you save hundreds, maybe even thousands yourself. It has helped over 5 million users save a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions. If that's you individually, my God, you need to really get a grip on things. But
you need a financial advisor at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you need a real life one, not just an app. But Rocket Money will definitely help you out with these goals. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions, reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on, rocketmoney.com/locked-on.
The Lakers, Andy, had been existing very close to second apron land, and this trade knocks them back from whatever it was, like $34,000.
That was the savings they got from LeBron,
right?
No, it was.
I know it is. It is the LeBron savings. It just doesn't sound like that much when you think about it that way. But now there are a few millions, like 3.5 million, basically underneath that apron, which they're still subject to a lot of rules about how you can put what players you can add and all that kind of stuff. But it does give them a little bit more wiggle room in terms of the amount of money that can go back and forth to not be that close to the second apron. That's something from a cap sheet standpoint that was a really nice little play in this. Also saves them a lot of luxury tax money, which I'm sure the even higher ups definitely appreciate.
We've talked about before. I mean, the Buss family, they are billionaires, and nobody should ever lose sleep about their future finances moving forward. I mean, frankly, if there are problems, it's all on them. And there really is no reason. Like, when you've got the foundation we call the Lakers as your nest egg if you're hurting for money. The problem is really you. That being said, though, not all billionaires are created equally. Not all billionaires owning teams are created equally. And the Lakers, compared to other teams' billionaires and owners around the league, they are one of the less liquid at the very least.
Yeah, that's the thing, is the billionaire-ish part of it is the team. You know, their equity is, you know, their
Segundo
is
Jeannie's tequila,
right,
and her Netflix deals and stuff like that.
It's the franchise and the tequila, and it's good tequila, but the franchise,
great tequila.
It's the bigger portion of that is, in fact, the Lakers franchise.
Yeah. Side note,
not tequila.
Side note, there are two tequila barons inside the Lakers, Jeannie Buss and LeBron with his Lobos tequila. They're both very good tequila, like unsolicited, unsponsored plug, although if they're listening, we're open for business. They are both excellent tequilas.
Side note, we live in a real golden age of tequila.
Yeah.
Like, it's not hard now to find just like delicious tequila that you can drink, that you can mix, that doesn't have to cost you, you know, $300 and stuff like that, that won't make you wake up in strange places with strange people. And like, it just like, this is a real great age for tequila. So, you know, kudos to big tequila, medium-sized tequila, small tequila.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, that what you're really saying is kudos to big celebrity who decided to get into the tequila brand, you know, the tequila business, because, you know, the George Clooney's, and if you start getting into tequila's cousin Mezcal, the Bryan Cranstons and Aaron Pauls of the world, The Rock has gotten into tequila, LeBron, Jeannie Buss, MJ is a Cincoro partner with Jeannie, I believe also the owner of the Celtics. Like there a lot of big money and big names behind big tequila, but as somebody for whom tequila is their favorite liquor, I very much appreciate the progress with tequila.
And he considers it a food group.
I do like tequila. I don't drink it nearly the way, I don't drink anything nearly the way I used to, but man, do I enjoy the taste of tequila.
I am wondering what the Lakers do from here. I think that, you know, I love that they made this move as relatively early in the trade process as possible. Obviously it wasn't the first trade of trade season, but you know, when you get these things done well over a month before the deadline, that the luxury here is the Lakers now have another 15 games or whatever it is to look at what they have and see where the next hole might be. Like, look, maybe there's you see how Finney-Smith fits in, and there's a justification for saying, you know, we can get by without Rui because we're going to get this guy back and that guy back, or whatever it is, and you construct something bigger. But if they'd done this on January 20th instead of December 28th, they wouldn't have had that time. And this is the kind of thing that actually, you know, taking D'Lo off the roster, adding Finney-Smith onto the roster, that does change what you're looking at a little bit, particularly if Jared Vanderbilt is able to come back. To that end, Andy, we could note that the progress report on Vanderbilt is that there is progress of not a lot of specificity, but JJ Redick says he's progressing. And, you know, it was
did some non-contact work.
Right.
Monday during practice.
If Vanderbilt is sort of back on the floor doing stuff, Christian Wood is all these guys they're hoping are back. Jackson Hayes is available now. All these guys are hopefully back in uniform within a month. That gives the Lakers something to look at, because they're going to go from having sort of no wings and no bigs to a full complement of guys if everybody else stays healthy. And the roster could look very different than what we expected it to be earlier in the season just by making this one change.
For sure. I would not, if I were them, count on Jared Vanderbilt to ever be a fixture, even if he returns.
Nope.
I mean, it has just been such a slog to keep him on the court. Ditto Christian Wood, assuming he does return sometime this season. I would not count on him being back.
But Drew, I'll finish your point in a second. But like, do you think it makes a big difference for the Lakers if Vanderbilt does come back, that they can compress what he might need to do on a night-to-night basis into 15 minutes, as opposed to being a guy who, like, if you're going to go somewhere, you need Vando to play 25 to 30. I feel like you might be able to get more out of him by saying, okay, go play hard and do what you need to do for 15 minutes a night, 10 minutes a night. And it's okay if you're not all the way back, because we're not leaning on you for 30.
Well, I think it needs to be somewhere in between 10 and 30. Like 10 to me feels like too few minutes. Like you
or
actually
15
start,
or whatever it is. But
sure,
like,
no,
the
but
point is, like, go play hard. Like,
right,
you can do it and it's okay.
Absolutely. But I mean, it matters in terms of how long you're on the court. Like 10 minutes, I think becomes more disruptive for the rotation, and
that's
Vando not really being able to find a flow. And I just say that just because I think there's a baseline for minimum minutes you can play while still being effective. Yeah. I also think the front court guys coming back in some respects could lessen that load or need on Vanderbilt. The flip side, though, is his real utility is being at that size, being able to guard more 3-1, like guards and small forwards, just true small forwards, as opposed to, I think, a lot of the guys that, if nothing else, Dorian Finney-Smith has been guarding more lately. Like Finney-Smith is a more of a true wing size, but defensively, at least, he has been guarding more often 4s and 5s than 3s, or certainly guards. It's not that he can't do it or never does it.
3s and 4s and small 5s.
Right. So it gives you more options, and but in a lot of ways, I feel like Max Christie's continued effectiveness, or what you are getting from Reddish, lessens that direct load from what specifically makes Vando important than DFS's arrival. Vando coming back just complements DFS, I think, in the sense that you're just adding more size and length and more forward options, period.
Yeah, I was just thinking in terms of like stuff that we've spent so much time talking about, how it's not just getting Vanderbilt back on the floor, but getting him back into the kind of shape where he can contribute big minutes on a team that needed him. Moving Christie, adding Finney-Smith, it makes me feel like, it gives him some cushion. It gives the Lakers a little bit of cushion. That's really what I was getting at. I think your point is well taken about the rotation. And I think ultimately you're going to end up in a situation, knock on wood, where Redick has more players, particularly 3, 4, and 5, than he has minutes for. And that is the Lakers have been oddly thin at different positions, ebbing and flowing over the course of the season. They are a risk to be very thin at guard if Reeves gets hurt for a few games, if Vincent gets hurt. I think that's why the Milton acquisition was a really smart piece of this, as he's a serviceable player who can be pressed into kind of playmaking duties, but at the very least is a good secondary ball mover and creator, and can certainly come in and score some points off the bench. They have the makings now of being a pretty solid defensive team, like a team that really can be top 10 to 15 for the rest of the season. And that, as much as anything, if they can get their offense back to something average, is going to make them look a lot different in the West.
Yeah. Like I said, 2024 is ending on exciting notes, and I'm very excited to see what 25 has in store, including the results of tonight's game against Cleveland.
Yeah, and hopefully it does not involve firing a coach, but we'll see. Maybe that guy in South Bay will qualify. Sorry, somebody has to be sacrificed. It's just how it works. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 26,000 subscribers to the channel. Please sign up for the newsletter, LockedOnDaily.com. Go click on Locked On Lakers. We will see everyone after the game tonight. Have a great and safe New Year's. We'll see everyone in 2025, baby.